Welcome. I'm the DeadwoodJedi, and today we are in the account of Wargasm. He asked for an account takeover, and I'm happy to oblige. This is going to be an interesting one, I think, because while the account needs a lot of work, right now he's currently doing between 19 and 20 million on Nightmare. So he's in 2 key range, but not consistently. And I think he feels like he's in the position where he's able to make that transition to Ultra Nightmare. I kind of agree after looking at this account. Now, as always, gear is going to be the issue getting there. The champions are there, which is great. That's usually one of the two things, right? You don't have the champions or you don't have the gear. 99 times out of 100, you can work with the champions you have. It's just about trying to figure it out. Not always, but most of the time. The gear, on the other hand, if you don't have the gear, there ain't nothing I can do for you. It doesn't matter how good your champions are. If you don't have the gear to get them to that next level, there's nothing doing. I think we have enough quality gear here where we can actually make a pretty interesting speed tune. So I'm kind of interested to see what we do. There's a lot of options we have available to us, and I'm intrigued by one champion in particular. Probably because I have them and I'm interested in figuring out new ways to use them. So let me go ahead and show you guys the champions that we have and what we're going to be working with, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so this is the account that we are working with here. You can see there's a fair amount of very, very good champions here. Lots of people to choose from. Rosin, always a spectacular champion. Alton is another great one. Draco, of course, is a must-have. So Alton and Draco are probably going to be 2 mainstays in this team. There's a debuff extender in Septimus, which is always fantastic to have. We have counterattack and Skull Crusher here. We even have some other options like Sepulchre Sentinel, Rearguard Sergeant. There's Nethril in here. We have lots of options. Tayrell, 2 Miscreated Monsters. Steel Skull, who I love. There's Sandlash Survivor there as well. And then the one that it's kind of haven't talked about is the one hiding behind my head. Let me see if I can get out of the way for you. It's going to be Sify here, the Lost Bride. Now, she's ungeared. She's not ascended yet, but I am considering trying to take the time to do all that because I feel like we could put some really interesting speed tunes together. Now, you can see she's ungeared. You can also see a lot of these champions, their speeds are painfully low. Just not really at a position where we are properly speed tuned. Now he is only fighting Nightmare, so it's not like he's going up against the highest level of clan boss. So I don't know that the speed needs to be crazy high to be successful. But these are definitely too slow on average. Not everybody. Like Sepulchre Sentinel here has a good speed, I think. Even Skull Crusher has a good speed. So there is, but it doesn't seem to be like properly speed tuned. Not the way that I think we would really like to see. Lots of good champions, but you can see here like 118 speed is not sufficient for what we need. So re-gearing is going to be a massive thing that we're going to have to undertake, and we're going to have to undertake it because these champions need it. So that's going to be definitely something we're going to want to get into and look at. You can see there's a lot of like 3 and 4 star gear on here. Typically the way I like to look at things, you want 5-star gear. 5-star gear can be end game gear. So there's no point bringing up something that's less than that to 16. Because because it takes so much silver to go from 12 to 16. It's not worth it for 4-star gear because it's just going to get outclassed too quickly. 6-star gear is hard to get, even at the end game. It takes a lot of grinding to be able to get that and to get stuff with good substats. So I don't worry too much about 6-star, but 5-star gear and 6-star gear, 5-star gear you should be able to get. Now, one of the other things that you're going to notice is going to be a big issue is going to be the accuracy level of these champions. We do have defense there, and we have an accuracy banner here. I don't think Alton does. Nope. Don't have accuracy anywhere on that build. It's going to be very difficult to get these champions up to the level of accuracy that we need to really compete. You can see this, I'm pretty sure, yep, accuracy chess piece. Not what we want. If we can all help it, we want to do away with accuracy in our chess pieces. So the big part of this account is actually not the clan boss. The big part of this account is going to be getting in the dungeons and getting spiders done. Because right now we are at spiders 13, and we need to get down here. If not to 20, at least to 17, so we can start getting some real good 4 or 5 and 6 star gear. But getting those accuracy banners make a huge difference. The jewelry sets makes a huge difference. So by the time you start getting into the Nightmare Clan boss, you really want to have 4, 5, and 6 star jewelry pieces, preferably 5 and 6 star. Again, like I said, there's no point rolling 4-star stuff up to 16. It's just a waste of your silver. So there's niche cases where you're like desperate to get that little bit of accuracy and you just need it. I understand that. But typically 5 and 6 star gear, that's what we want. And it just takes like one accuracy banner. It's a little RNG. You got to grind for a while, but it's worth it. Okay, guys, we're back. As promised, we spent most of the time, it's been a couple of days, spent most of the time working on spiders. That was clearly the biggest place for improvement. We did spend a fair amount of time farming dragon as well to get some gear that we can use. The biggest issue with this team is that for the champions that are here, the gear is not. And so that was the biggest thing. So I spent a considerable amount of time trying to get those dungeon runs higher level and faster. So let me show you really quickly the results of that. It's pretty impressive. We started at Spider 13 and we got ourselves all the way to Spider 20. It is a 2-minute run, full auto, works really nicely, so it's great for farming. We haven't had all the luck farming, so we still don't have all the gear that we really want to have, but it's very effective. Now, one of the biggest issues obviously is Cold Heart wasn't geared properly. Cold Heart was geared for attack and damage, and that's the wrong way to gear Cold Heart. Cold Heart has one ability, that A3, which does 2 important things. It damages based off enemy max HP, and then it also reduces turn meter. So the things you want for Cold Heart actually is crit rate and damage to be appropriate, and as much crit damage as you can. And then the other part that you want is good accuracy, so that that turn meter reduction actually happens. That's really important. And that wasn't the case. So we re-geared her. We obviously set up Miscreated Monster to be a beast, and he needs 100% crit rate. Outside of that, just as much HP as you can. And that makes for a great Miscreated Monster build. Speed is good too, so making him fast always helps. But those are the 2 things that you want, or the 3 things you want on Miscreated Monster. We had Lysandra. I put her in instead of Sify, who I had for a while, just for a little bit extra turn meter reduction, which is really helpful. And then Stagnite for the decreased defense, decreased attack, and the slow. Sometimes you think all I need is the decreased attack so we do more damage, but the decreased defense so you can do more damage. But actually the decreased attack is really important so that whoever's getting hit as a tank doesn't die. Now for our tank, we actually have Drexthar. Drexthar is a phenomenal champion, but only for a certain portion of the game. Once you get to end game, he's not really as good as you'd like, but up until then, he's phenomenal. He's great against spiders because his passive puts on an HP burn just when he gets hit. Not even him attacking, when he gets hit, which is great for the spiders. He's the weak affinity for the spiders, or the strong affinity, I guess, so they're going to attack him, which is also great, so you can use him as your tank. Very effective at that. And he has an ability that lets him heal when there's HP burn on somebody. So all in all, he's really good for this. He was my spider tank for a long time. One of the first legendaries I ever had, and he was really good, especially on the transition from Brutal to Nightmare and Nightmare to Ultra Nightmare. All right, guys, so the champions that we're going to bring in Alton here to do our attack down. Now, this is not my favorite build, but we got his defense fairly high, 3,200. I'd love to have that higher. The more defense we have, the more damage he does. Decent, good HP. I'm happy with that. The crit rate's good, and Alton can deal damage, so we wanted to make sure that was high. Accuracy is incredibly low. We do not have an accuracy banner. I put this on. I didn't even roll it up that high because I didn't want to waste the time, but we just were not able to find an accuracy banner, and that just kind of kills us a little bit. Because of that, we also have this 4-star chest plate. So, there's definitely some room to grow on this account. especially in the gear department. Now, because of that, we had to bring in some more accuracies from somewhere, and we opted for Drexthar. Now, Drexthar's aura is just amazing. You can see he's got pretty low defense as well. HP's okay, but on the low side. There's so much room on this account to improve, guys. So much room. But we had to bring in some trash speed boots, accuracy chest plate. I could take that out and put defense in, but we don't have defense to put in there. The only thing we had were 4-star gear pieces, and it just did not seem like it would be worth it. Crit rate, yeah, it's just not there. But the best part about him is this aura with the accuracy. Increase accuracy in all battles by 80% is huge for your allies, guys. I mean, absolutely huge. If you're struggling to find accuracy in your builds, having a lead like Drexthar was huge. It got me from brutal all the way ultra nightmare. Being able to do that made gearing my entire team a lot easier when I still couldn't do spiders, when I still couldn't get 5- and 6-star accuracy banners, or I was still just farming for them because they wouldn't land for me. It made a huge difference. So he's a really good lead champion for that transition period. He's not great end game, just to be fair, but in that transition, he's amazing. Sandlash Survivor we have coming in to extend buffs and make sure that we have increased defense and ally protect on for both AoEs and as long as possible, and help direct the stun to Drexthar as well. Pretty solid build, nothing crazy. Because of the speed she's going to be going first in the turn order, or second to Draco, which is really good. Does miss the first turn, but that's not much. But she will also extend all the buffs before they fall off of people. That's great. Could always do more defense, more HP, but it's a pretty solid build. She will not be one of the first to die. Draco, obviously, I actually kind of like the Draco build. 3,600 defense is pretty close that's pretty much Ultra Nightmare defense level. 3,000 attack is also really good. 30,000 HP solid. The crit rate's real low, so that's why Draco's not going to do a whole lot of damage off his basic attack. But that's okay. The accuracy is good on this build. We do have an accuracy banner, so that's important. And the reason why we have it so high, even with Drexthar, is because we want to make sure that for other content, other dungeons, that Draco's still useful. 184 speed is very solid. We'll go first in the turn order to get that decreased defense and weaken as much play as possible. And then very last is Skull Crusher, and this is one of the best builds I think I've ever done. We're a little lower in the crit rate than I'd like, but man, 5,000 defense, 40,000 HP, that's going to keep us alive for a really long time. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with the build. Obviously, we just need better gear, but we just don't have it. It's just not there, and that's the killer part of this. This game is about the gear, not the champions. It's about the gear. So yeah. So this is going to be the team. It's pretty much a full auto team right from the start. So I'll do a quick little narration, and then I'll take myself off the screen and just let everything play. But yeah, it's pretty impressive. Essentially, what's happening here is that we get the ally protection and the counterattack from Skull Crusher. Alton puts up the increased defense, and then Drexthar goes. And then on the next turn, Sandlash extends all those buffs. So all those buffs are going to last for 3 turns. And for Drexthar, because he's going to burn one of those turns right away, it's actually only going to last 2 turns, which is really important. So that's really good. It's important that Alton goes after Skull Crusher, because when Alton went before Skull Crusher, what would happen is Skull Crusher would end up taking the stun. The reason why is the increased defense buff would fall off of Skull Crusher. It would also fall off of Drexthar, but Skull Crusher would have lower HP at some point, or lower percentage HP, and then the clan boss would target him. And that would screw up everything, obviously. The stun hitting Skull Crusher is a bit of a problem. And with Sandlash extending the buffs, we don't have to worry about counterattack falling off of Alton or ally protection. It'll still be on the full time. So this becomes a really important thing timing-wise to make sure that Drexthar is last. So you can see right before the stun here, when Drexthar goes, all those buffs are going to fall off, meaning that's the preferred target for the clan boss, and so that's where the stun will go. And that's good. We want the stun to hit Drexthar, one, because that the HP burn will then hit again. It'll proc on his passive. Also because he's the one champion that we can afford to have lose a turn. We don't want it to happen to Draco. He's our DPS. We don't want it to have Alton, because Alton needs to put up that increased defense at the right time. We don't want it to have the Skull Crusher, obviously, for the counterattack going up at the right time. And same thing with Sandlash, so she can extend those buffs at the proper time. So the only person that it really doesn't matter with would be Drexthar. Easily replaceable in this composition. Once the accuracy of everybody else gets high enough, I would actually recommend replacing Drexthar. You can keep him in. He's a good damage dealer, has a triple hit A1. HP burn's always nice, but I would probably try to bring in someone that maybe like a Sandlash or a Sepulchre Sentinel, or you could bring in Steel Skull, somebody else that's going to help you keep those buffs up, bring a little bit more utility, maybe some more poisons, maybe some raw damage, maybe just block debuffs so that you don't get blocked by the stun or by the affinity boss. Those would be suggestions of mine. Even like you could bring in a Mausoleum Mage, though she doesn't do any damage. You could bring in a Grizzled Jarl, would be an excellent choice. There's lots of options as far as bringing in different champions for different abilities. But with this group, I felt like this was a good way to go, and I think I'm right. We were doing about 19 million before, and now we're going to be doing well north of 20. And I feel like with some better gear and a little bit of tweaking, this is actually a 3-key Ultra Nightmare team. Maybe not right away, but with the proper gear, if we can get some more crit rate in the build, more defense in the build, the setup, at least, is an Ultra Nightmare team. Yeah, probably have to finagle the speeds a little bit. We'd probably want Sandlash Survivor closer to 180, still going first but not missing that one turn. We'd probably need to, but I think, yeah, with that one little change, this is a Ultra Nightmare team. Anyway, I'll let the run go. I'll get myself off the screen here, and yeah, we'll come back after. So guys, this was, I thought, an incredibly successful run. 37 million, way more than I anticipated. I did a run previously, it was only 26 million. So there is some swinginess with this composition, but I think that shows the potential of where it can be. If you have Drexthar on your team and you're struggling to make those moves or get the accuracy on your squad, definitely don't sleep on him. He is an incredible champion. He's not an end game champion. I need to be clear about that. But if you're going from brutal to nightmare, nightmare to ultra nightmare, there is nobody as valuable as him. I personally used him a lot. Took me all the way up to 3-key ultra nightmare from brutal. Definitely recommend getting him out of your onto your team, leveled up, geared up. He's extremely useful in spiders, as we showed also. So he does have a place on your team for a long time. It's not a waste of your resources. If you have other options, obviously feel free to go that direction. I don't think anyone's going to miss him. But if you're struggling and you can't do spiders, Drexthar is a solution that you probably want to look into. Way better than Contra, the new the Cyclone. I think that's her name. Is her name Contra? Wow. The new fusion champion that's going on right now. Drexthar is phenomenal for this. So definitely someone that you want to check out, I think, and maybe break out of your vaults a little bit. That said, obviously this team has a lot of potential. It is not, I don't think it's like a 3-key Ultra Nightmare team. I think it's probably a 4-key Ultra Nightmare team, as the swinginess will affect it a lot. Still would need to get better gear. But if this team can get geared up, boy, I think 3-key is easy in its future. The emergency ally protection from Sandlash is huge. The extending of the buff is huge. Alton, Draco, Skullcrusher, those are all endgame champions. Even Sandlash Survivor, really. And Drexthar can play at that Ultra Nightmare level. He can play real well. It's just that there's usually better options by the time you're there. And on this account, there certainly are. I think to take this to Ultra Nightmare, one of the things I'd be looking at is Sandlash Survivor for the block debuffs. I'd be looking at Steel Skull for the additional increased defense, as well as the poisons to make sure those stay on the full time. But Drexthar does his job, and he does it really well, even by himself. I think there is some damage potential to be had there, though, with a secondary poisoner. But yeah, you could even bring in a Rosin in this comp and probably do extremely well, increasing your damage output. But Sandlash Survivor is an incredibly useful champion for extending buffs, and Drexthar is incredibly useful for getting you that extra accuracy when you're not getting the gear that you need. Usually, every account I come across seems to have one of two deficits. It's a deficit of champions, or it's a deficit of gear. And when you have a deficit of gear, using the right champions to help augment that can be really powerful. And the accuracy buff that Drexthar has is really helpful. So definitely want to pay attention to that. Guys, hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully you saw a couple things that maybe you didn't before. I'm going to be doing my stuff on Twitch starting next week. If you have the time, come check me out. Twitch.tv/DeadwoodJedi. Real easy. Always check out the website where you can look at the calculator. We're going to be doing some updates. I got the new calculator. It's in the works. It's looking real good. I'm very excited about that, guys. Should be coming out in a week or two. Come join us on Discord. Guys, whatever you thought about this, whether you liked it, whether you thought I did something wrong, whether I showed you something new or not, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I really appreciate it. I do try to take the time to respond to all of them. I don't get to all of them, but I do get to a lot of them. And I always appreciate you guys taking the time to say something to me. So I try to do my best to respond back. In that same vein, guys, if you like this video, go ahead and click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.